Okay, we're live.
Okay.
And thank you for joining us on Uncork Your Mind. Today we're going to explore one of Italy's most fascinating indigenous grapes, the Schioppettino. Did I pronounce that right? Schiop-
Schioppettino. Schioppettino.
Schioppettino, with special guest Francesca of Vigna Petrussa Winery in Italy. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this amazing variety. So the right pronunciation is very difficult. It's Schioppettino.
Schioppettino. Okay, Schioppettino. You've been producing wine for over 150 years. Can you share the story of your winery and how it's evolved through the generations?
Yes. So the property was owned by my great-grandfather, and they had a bigger property with a lot of different activities apart from winemaking. So they had a mill, they had horses. But as I love to say, my great-grandfather had 9 kids. So the property was split in like a cake, divided in a lot of small property. And my grandfather and my grandmother, they receive a part of this property. When my grandfather passed away, my grandmother had to take over to the property and she was struggling a lot. She had to fight because my mom was 16 and my auntie was a little bit older. So none of the Italian local men wanted to help her and working under a woman. So the fact that she was close to the Slovenian border, she found this family that really helped and is still helping us to carry on with this amazing job. And then after my grandmother, my mom was an elementary teacher, and my grandmother, she was aging. So every weekend we were going there to support her and to assist her on this hard work. And then at a certain point, my mom decided to move to the area and work in the wine production. She took all the sommelier courses, she learned about the local variety, the market, and then she started with my grandmother, we started to bottle wines. I still remember when I was young that we were bottling one by one the bottles. One was holding the machine, the machine, the base extractor.
Yeah.
The other one was holding the bottle, and then with some glue, we were placing in a decent way the labels. And then my mother got more professional. Even the perception of the wine was changing through all these years. And then with me, I was trained as an architect. I was working as an architect for a lot of years. And then my mom said exactly what my grandmother said to her. It's time to come back to the winery and get involved every day in this business. For me and my mom was totally different because the period that my mom started to take over with the vineyard, there was this association, Le Donne del Vino, so Women in Wines. So there was a lot of support, a lot of visibility, a lot of cooperation between female in the wine business. For me, it's totally different. We are a lot of women in the wine businesses on the sector. So it's just carry on with the passion and try to learn more and more using, your tradition with new technologies.
Oh, wow, that is wonderful. Did you watched your mother transform from an elementary school teacher into the winery? Was that make it easier? Did that make it easier for you as, an architect to make that, transformation, like it was time to go back to the family?
So for my mom was like the second chance of her life. I think that she discovered the power, the energy, and the passion that she had, but she was not putting, into practice. And she became like a totally different woman, like stronger, more stubborn, full of passion, with a lot of energy. Yeah, it was a second chance, amazing second chance of her life. For me, it was very interesting because I was living abroad, I was living far away for a lot of years. So going back and having the same dream, working along and getting very, how do you say, very parallel in our decision. She has a lot of more experience. And me, I'm coming with like an international background, a different way that the people are drinking the wines, a different view of what is drinking wine and which type of wine we have to create.
Yeah, and that's ever changing these days. It's so different
Yeah,
from
yeah, even
years
recently,
before.
it's totally different
Yep,
between the weather change and the new trends of wines and less alcohol wine is always changing. You always need to be ready to put yourself in a situation to be able to be flexible.
absolutely, absolutely. And can you tell us about the region that you guys are in? I'm going to butcher it. I'm not going to pronounce it correctly. The Colli Orientali di
Orientali
Friuli
del Friuli. Yeah. So we
region.
are
Can
on
you
the
paint
north.
us a picture so people can, visualize where you are and the
Yeah.
beauty of it?
So I always say we are in the middle of nowhere because really everybody knows it, but not many people come to visit the region. That is a shame. We are in the northeast of Italy. We have Slovenia on one side, and we are 500 meters from the Slovenian border. And then we have Austria on top. It's a very green area. If I can describe, the place where I am, we are an hour and 30 minutes from Venice Airport and is surrounded by gentle hills, like 250 meters, 300 meters. Is very rainy area, always very rainy, like English weather. So never very hot, never very cold, always light rain and sort of a little bit gray sky. Very windy. We have winds coming from the mountains that you can ski an hour and a half from the vineyard, and you can go to to the beaches that is an hour and a half. So we get winds from the mountains and from the sea that they dry the water from the plants. And for this reason, it's a very green area, beautiful for, nice walks, discovering the nature, cycling, climbing. So very naturalistic spot. And then this change of temperature is sometimes, you have 15-degree difference between day and night. So in the evening gets very chilly and fresh. So this type of climates preserve the perfume, is helping to have a very rich perfume on the wines. And then we have a type of soil that is very important for the wine production that is called Ponca. I love to describe that as a millefoglio. Do you know the Italian cake done with a lot of layer of pastry?
Mhm.
So very fragile. So under the weather, the rain, and the tractor, it breaks into 1,000 pieces, releasing a lot of minerality. That is another characteristic of our wines and the minerality that we get from this type of soil. Is Amarna oceanica. I don't know how to say in English. I'm sorry.
So you get a lot of that minerality in your wine
Yeah. Yes.
from the
Yes.
soil, and that what makes your
Yeah.
area
Yeah,
really
yeah, because
special.
it's beautiful. It really crumbles. It's very fragile. It's a lot of slice, that are
Hmm.
linked together.
A lot of layers. So let's talk about you say Schioppettino.
Schioppettino. So the Schioppettino is a variety that is very special for us, and I think it is a very modern variety. Schioppettino in Italian, Schioppettino means scoppiare, like a blast, probably because the berry blasting in your mouth, they're very crunchy, so they blast in your mouth. Was a variety that disappeared for the Phylloxera, and then one family kept carry on cultivating the wine, even if it was illegal, because disappeared from the list of wines that you could produce. And then around the 2000, the wine producer of the area, they work along with technical people. They discovered that in the area of Precotto, where we are, is the name of the village, so it's very close between Cormons and Cividale. For the type of characteristics, the soil, the terroir, is where this characteristic of spiciness of black and green pepper, they expressed better. And so they were working very hard to create like a proper selection of the plants and to find the best regulation to produce this wine. Um, so if you want, I can go into detail for the either on the description of the wine or on the description of the regulation, as you prefer.
Well, let's start with the description of the wine because
Mm.
you actually make four different types
Yeah,
of
yeah.
varietals, but
Because
let's go with the basic general description of the
yeah,
wine.
yeah. So the bunch, sorry, the wine has this, as on your nose, gets this very delicate spiciness of black and green pepper, as I was saying, and then you can start to smell light flowers like violet. And then the colors is light red, elegant color. When you put into your mouth, is elegant, soft tannins, very vertical, very nice and clean and neat. And then you start to perceive, to have the perception of earthy type of taste, like hummus. I don't know if you ever been to pick a mushroom in the woods, that there is this smell of hummus and terroir. And then when you swallow, it's staying elegant and vertical, cleaning your mouth, but being very persistent. So it's a wine that can be paired very easily with a lot of variety of food. So from the meat to vegetarian to mushroom and truffle, just because you get back the same type of basic flavor. And then with spiciness like Sichuan peppers from Asia, or like some dishes like the Japanese, the shabu shabu. So it gets with fish and meat. You can put in the fridge, and is preserving all the characteristic, and it seems less alcoholic just because of the lightness of these tannins. And as a plant has very big bunches, can produce up to 5 kilos. So it's a rich plant that produce a lot of leaves and big bunches, and up to 5 kilos. Um, please ask me.
Do you do any leaf pulling in the vineyard
We do a
or
lot of
anything?
selection, because it requires a lot of hard work, this type of variety. So by regulation, we can produce just 1.5 kilos per plant, and this to be able to call it Schioppettino di Pratotto. So we cut down, we go into the vineyard between three to
Drop fruit.
four times. So we start in this period with the gems. We select, the gems. If there are two, you just leave one. Then you need to do step by step, otherwise carry on producing a lot of leaves. So it's a plants that require a lot of manual work, a lot of patience, and a lot of patience as well. Then when you get the bunches, you select the best bunches, and you never leave the one at the end of the arm, otherwise that arm can break because they're quite heavy. When there is verizon, correct? When the
Uh-huh.
berry change
Yep,
color,
yep,
how do you
Eurasian,
say
yep.
Eurasian?
Eurasian, yeah.
Eurasian. You resize the bunch because, as I was saying, has this T shape. You cut the
Mhm.
wings, you cut the bottom, you just leave the heart. So all the berries can get to similar maturation, so
Mhm.
like a more homogeneous maturation. And then when you get, and then you throw away because a lot of people say, okay, you cut down so many times, but when you throw away, when they see the picture, all these grapes, what do? No, you just remove, you clean the vineyard, otherwise they will attract the insects, and you throw away
Mhm.
all the extra grape, and then you expose to the final maturation. So when you get closer to the harvest, you open it up, all the branches, and you expose to the final maturation. But now we need to be very careful because we have very hot and sunny seasons. So if you expose too early, they get burned. And when the sun is burning the berries, the hints of spiciness, they tend to disappear. So for this reason, it's very fragile. Even if the bunch is big and very crunchy and looks very healthy, require a lot of manual work.
Well, that's interesting that too much sun, you lose the spice. I love
Yeah.
wine with that pepper spice. I
No,
totally
there
love
is,
that.
because what I say that is modern is just because it's so light, it's so fresh, it's so easy to use all year around. In winter with the meat, when you get to summer food, that you have fishes with tomato, like a tuna steak, salmon pairs perfectly well. And then consider that we are trying to export this wine and introduce to new markets, we starting to discover that it pairs very well with different variety of food, like as I was saying, Asian type of food.
So you produce four different kinds of wine with that grape. Can you go into each of the one, because I know one is for earlier drinking, one is aged, one is only with the good grapes,
Yeah,
and one is with the when you dry them out.
yeah.
So can you go into that and tell people the different types that you produce and why?
Yes. Before I need to say that it's not my mom passion, it's my mom obsession. So for this reason, we vinify this wine in a lot of different way, just to prove how flexible, how fresh, and how versatile can be this variety. I think that her passion comes for the hard job that they've been doing on the 2003 when they obtained the GOC, so the crew area, and because it was probably the wine that was drunk in the family for different situation or everyday wine. We have the name of the Schioppettino can be Schioppettino or Ribolla Nera. So that is the second name or the other name of this variety. So we have the version Rinera because by law we cannot put Ribolla Nera anymore. So we cropped it and we put Rinera Schioppettino is the stainless steel version. Here you can have more the perception of the fruit, the crunchiness and the freshness. So very good for an aperitif is like the easy and the youngest version. Of course, it maintains the same characteristic of the spices. And all the red wine, they spend minimum 1 year in the bottle because what we think that they need to get a little bit of hint of cold and hot weather before starting to perform. The Schioppettino di Prepotto, that is our stars, the stars of the area, if we can say between brackets. We are more or less 23 producer tonight after our meeting. I have a meeting with all the producer of Schioppettino di Prepotto. By regulation, is 1.5 kilo per plant, as I was saying. Indigenous yeast, or needs to be aged minimum 1.5 years in barrels. We decided to use big wood barrels, older or where the wood doesn't transmit or cover up of the flavor of this variety. And big barrels for the same reason, so they don't have the impact on the flavor of the grape, and 1 year in the bottle. Either you can buy the yeast from the Association of Schioppettino, Produttori Schioppettino di Prepotto, or when the grapes are perfect, you can use your own grapes for create your yeast, and always stains 1 year in the bottle. And this is the classical version, where, as I was saying before, you get the flower, the fruit, but at the same time, the deepness of our terroir. Then we have the Riserva and the Perla Nera. They are produced just on the best vintages when the grapes are perfect. By regulation, the Riserva needs to spend 3 years in wood and 1 year in the bottle. Ours staying 3 years in tonneau, always all wood, and 1 year in the bottle. Here is, I would say, our feminine version. Everybody is expecting from Riserva to be bold, to be rich, but it's a female winery. So we tend to have a lighter wine where we point out on wines that are elegant, they can be drunk by themselves, but they can be paired with food of a medium high type of restaurants. So they need to get along with the food. They need to have a long length and a long perception. And is delicate. Here you have more flowerness and elegance. And then the Perla Nera was creating, that means black pearl. My great-grandfather and my grandfather, there were a lot of men and they were hunting. So they were producing 5 kilo per plant. It was a table wine, the Schioppettino back in time. So he was doing an appassimento, so he was drying the grape, part of the grapes of Schioppettino, to keep it for longer time or for rich meal, like when they were cooking, the game, all the wild meat they were hunting. And so that when the family was gathering together, they had like a different type of wine, a little bit more robust, a a little bit more consistent to share and to be paired with this rich type of meat. So this is aging 3 years in barrique and 1 year in the bottle. Here is more intense is we dry the grapes, sorry, I missed to say this. We dry the grapes for a month and then they vinify, as I was saying, in barrique. It's becoming rounder. Here you can get, the deepness of the grape is more persistent and robust, I would say,
Is
in
it a
comparison
sweeter
with the
wine? It's a
no,
sweeter one.
at
No?
the beginning, the first few years, we're starting to produce like with not sweet because it's not sweet, but a little bit more soft in your mouth to pair, in particular, with cheese and
Okay.
pate. But then we discovered that a lot of our clients prefer to have this version with like a normal roast or duck meat, meats that usually are paired with uh, jam jelly, or like fruit side jam. And so we
Mhm.
make it, we started to bottle from 0,50 to 0,75 and get it a little bit slimmer as a wine because they were drinking as a everyday wine.
Okay. Do you export that to like the States?
Yes,
You
Florida.
all of your,
Yeah.
you know,
More or less all the labels are exported, and for Schioppettino, we are mainly export to Florida.
oh, okay. All right. Now beyond Schioppettino, you also produce other native grapes to the region. Would you like to talk about some of those
Yeah.
grapes?
Along the year with my mom, we discovered that for a small winery like us, it's very important to focus in indigenous variety because are the ones where we can express better the characteristic of our terroir and the tradition of our family. So we have variety as we speak as white wines, the Ribolla Gialla that is very fresh, very popular. Um, is our teenager wine, very good for when the hot season is coming, drinking by the pool or if you're out in a bar with your friends. And then can be paired, with fish. Love it with the fry fish because it's cleaning your mouth, has this good acidity and this freshness with these hints of gourmet taste that cleans your mouth. And
Mhm.
then one of my favorite is Friulano that was called Tokai, but the Hungarian people
Mhm.
decided that they can name the wine. So the region decided to put the name Friulano because it was the typical white wines from Friuli. Friulano is very elegant and balanced, easy to pair with a lot of different type of food. Here instead the agreement, we have the little white flowers. The smell on the nose reminds me when I was a child and you run into the park and you start to collect little flowers that they don't have identify type of smell, but is between grass and flowers. So gets on
Uh-huh.
your nose this delicate flowerness, but then is filling your mouth. And when you swallow, you get like a clean, we say, dry almonds that clean your mouth
Mhm.
and refresh your palate. The Ribolla Gialla we age half in wood and the other half in stainless steel, and then we assemble. Instead, for the Friulano, we age 7 months in big wood barrel because the barrels are giving us. We use a lot of old barrels in our vinification because it's the perception that we want about our wine to have this long length and persistency and elegance, and then they age better. So you can preserve for 5, 7 years without any problem. So that are the reason. Then we have Malvasia Istriana, that has the same vinification as Ribolla Gialla. Here is a wine, versatile as well, where the minerality is coming out and you can feel the perception of our soil. This is our Malvasia because other Malvasia probably they are rich on the
Mhm.
nose and they are more flowery. Our Malvasia is much more mineral. And then we have a blend that is called the Riquenza. I'm not going to describe it, but it's a blend of the indigenous variety, was created by my mom 20 years ago to preserve some of the variety that my ancestors were planting in the past, but we didn't have enough to get a line, a single variety. And so my mom said, okay, we don't waste anything. We put all these wines together, we vinify them separately, and then we assemble. So 4 different wines, and this can age up to 15 years. And the
Oh,
Vicenza
wow.
is the name of a princess. So it's mineral, it's flowery because there is the Frulano, there is the Riesling that gives minerality, there is the Piccoli that gives the fatness. So it's an amazing wine, much more complex, much more gastronomic. And then if we go to the red variety, apart from the Schioppettino, we have another incredible variety. It's called, difficult, it's going to be to pronounce, it's Refosco dal Peduncolo Rosso.
Glad you're pronouncing that.
So Refosco usually is a type of grape that is rustic, and the tannins tend to be a little bit sharp and difficult to shake. So usually the tongue gets stuck to your palate. So what we do an appassimento of 30% of the grape. We let it dry for a month, and then it's aging 3 years in barrique. And then the other part, always manual harvest. Even for the Schioppettino, remember, only manual harvest is allowed for the Schioppettino di Prepotto. And then the other 70% is aging in tonneau for 3 years. After 3 years, we assemble, we bottle, and we let it rest for a year. The Refosco is totally different personality of the Schioppettino. Schioppettino is elegant and sophisticated. Refosco is probably you fall in love easier because it's rounder, juicy, it's cherry berry on your mouth. So in America, they call it yummy wine because you feel the fruit in your mouth.
Jammy, maybe? Jammy?
Jammy,
Maybe
jammy. And so is nicer, is rounder, incredible variety. Require even this one to shape it a little bit, a longer and hard work. The comparison with the Schioppettino, the Refosco, even if you have the same percentage of alcohol, seems more alcoholic. So what I noticed on the Italian market that this type of wines, they consume are very good during winter period or colder period. Then when the season, consider that our winter is shrinking, the fact is, when you get to summer, when you get to lighter type of food, the people prefer like the Schioppettino. So
yeah.
this is.
So
And then we
can you
have the
talk
last one. And the last
Okay.
one, the Piccoli. The Piccoli is a variety typical from Friuli. We are probably 15, no, probably 10, 12 producer. Is Passito, is the dry grape. And then is another variety, very good to pair with pate and cheeses. Is a floral abortion, so you need 4 plants to get one bottle of 037. And it's sweet, it's velvety taste of dry apricots, but when you swallow, it's fresh and clean with like a hint of lemon zest. So it's very surprising, this variety as
Ooh,
well.
that sounds really nice. So now let's go over to your farming. You do, is it about you follow the moon cycles and all that? How do you actually balance those two things day to day in the winery
So a very
with the
important, I think
philosophy of your farming?
we are environmentally friendly wineries, so
Mhm.
we don't use pesticides. We follow all the regulation to get this certification. Most of the works are done manually. We try to intervene as less as possible in the vineyard, and then I think that all the other things that we do, like looking at the moon cycle, waiting the right moment to do the harvest. We are small, so some decision can be taken at 6 o'clock in the evening for the morning after 7, because our team is very flexible. We have people that are incredible to work with and are very important. We do for scaramantic reason, but like We always try to bottle when the moon is correct, because then the wines otherwise take longer to settle down in the bottle. But even there are some energy and some things even in the barrel. There are spots. We have a little river going around the cellar, and there are some spots in the cellars where you need to move the wine after a while, because the wines never settle, because probably there is like energy, of the river underneath. And so we say, just in case, we do what they've been told us, and we try to preserve it. And then you always need to be able to implement with technology. The weather is changing a lot. The quality needs to be perfect, in particular if you are small. So we always invest in new system, new machine. We always try to take courses to understand, what is the best practice that we can use in the field. And you need to go in a parallel way, because and always to be open to react straight away. The fact that we do a lot of manual works is helping us to have a perception of what is happening in the field day by day, and how to control and how to intervene as soon as possible. No, most of the vineyard is outside of our house and the cellar. So, and as I was saying, the team is very experienced, so that is super important. In the last 4 years, we got one year no rain at all. The year after, very violent and short rains. Last year, it was a mix between humidity and wet and hot weather. So all the barrels start spontaneous fermentation without expecting, in a situation that we never saw before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then look, usually we were doing harvest the middle of September for the white wines and middle of October for the red wine. Last year, we started end of August. And by the 10th of September, we say, okay, we still have time to harvest the red wine. We carry on, with the vinification of the whites. And then in 3 days, all the reds were ready. We don't
Oh
know
boy.
why, but not just us, but a
Oh
lot
my
of
goodness.
our vineyard. By the 22nd of September, the harvest was done.
Oh, that's
So
unusual. Wow.
that's unusual. That's unusual. We were all
Yeah.
surprised. We were all surprised, all rushing,
Yeah.
hysterical.
Yeah.
And so it's very surprising. So you need to mix, technology with
Yeah.
your experience and your tradition. That is super important.
Yeah, that's one thing with farming. It
Yeah.
varies every year, and you just have to be open and ready for
Yeah.
anything,
No,
you
but then it's
know.
very funny. You get very mild winter, so you can, you wear the scarf, I don't know, 10 days in a year, and then you get the weather going down zero in April. And so when the
Yeah.
gems are coming out, it's going under zero. And a few years ago, we lost it. But even in these days that I was in Brazil, there was terrible weather in Friuli, very rainy, heavy rain. And how do you call when it's raining ice? That I never remember that word.
Hail,
Hail,
sleet.
hail.
Yeah.
In a lot of different places, we got hit in one small area, but nothing dangerous. But and then we had a very quiet winter. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
challenging.
We had this year a very, very cold winter, and April 20th we had a freeze. And before the freeze, it was warm, so it killed a lot of grapes, killed a
Yeah,
lot of fruit trees. Yeah,
exactly.
it's like no
Exactly.
peaches for you this summer,
Yeah.
but it's
No,
it's
no.
sad. But it's the weather, and
And you
it's
cannot do anything.
unpredictable,
Oh yeah,
very
exactly.
unpredictable. Yes.
Exactly.
So for American wine drinkers, they drink, their Pinot Noir, their Syrah, their Cap Franc. Which of your wines do you think will surprise them the most, and that they should, seek out? I think that the Schioppettino would be more like a Cap Franc Syrah kind of
It's more like a
mix.
Pinot Noir. It's more like a
Pinot
Pinot
Noir?
Noir. Is that type of
Okay.
profile. So what I experience in my events in US, because at the beginning we were selling in New York and in uh, and in another area, then they import them without well. In California, Schioppettino, they love the Schioppettino. They really love the Schioppettino.
Mhm.
Um, and, and white wines, they prefer the Fulano to the Ribolla Gialla, for example. This is my experience, and then other people will think a different way. Yeah,
Yeah, so we got to
especially
get
in
them
the
to reach for
yeah.
those,
No, no,
you know.
absolutely, absolutely. We are working very hard. It's a great team. We are all small producers. We produce very high standard Schioppettino di Prepotto. So I think that you should try to get some of our
Yeah, I'm
Schioppettino.
gonna try to get some. I'm going to search it out. I'm definitely going to search it out. So looking ahead, what is your vision for the winery's future with all the indigenous grapes and, what do you see? What do you want to achieve and for it to be,
Is a question
this
that they
kind of-
asked me the other day in another meeting. It's difficult to say. I personally think that now, in the last couple of years, and even now, there was, uh, I'm saying in Europe, a division dictated by prices. So we got um, the price range of a small winery that they tend to be medium, not very high, because you don't get a lot of money out of wine business. But they were replacing, at the restaurants, they were replacing with higher price, lower quality wine, like more industrial. And I think that because the people are drinking less and the price are going up as well at the restaurants, the people tend to drink less but better. So now they are bored to pay a very high price for very low quality. And the restaurants, they understand this because if the wines is too expensive, is priced too expensively, the people don't drink the second glass, will not drink the second bottles if it's a shared table. So for smaller wine and indigenous variety, we still need to work hard because you need to have somebody able to explain, the where the wines is coming from, how to pair,
Mhm.
the flavor, the taste, but the quality is a sort of guarantee. So I'm sure that the market will increase, in particular for the small winery, indigenous variety, and the client will look for quality wines. Because now we have experienced drinker. Even the young generation, they drink less, but when they
Mhm.
drink, they want to drink something decent. They don't want to drink low quality stuff because you end up with headache, stomach
Mhm.
ache. And
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
understand the first
yeah.
time that you've drunk it, that you're not going to drink it again.
Yeah, I agree. I had a restaurant. We closed it last September, but my wine list was not like any other wine list in the area. And I did flights to introduce people to other grapes, like Tanat from Uruguay, and I had a really good Bruner from Austria. And, they were, reasonably priced and they were good wines. And people loved just coming in for the wine because they knew
Yeah,
my experience and they knew they were getting something good. It wasn't going to
yeah.
be low quality, you
No,
know.
exactly. If you have a restaurant and you work hard to serve,
Yeah.
good quality food, why do you
Hmm.
have to pair with something that is not at the same level as the food that you are
Exactly.
offering?
Exactly.
Then the
Exactly.
full
I
experience,
totally
then the
agree
full
with you.
experience is going to be poor.
You
No, the
know.
full experience is going to be poor. If
Yeah,
if the food was
exactly.
good but the wine was disgusting, what's the point to go to these restaurants again?
Exactly. When you have to pair, a poor quality wine with the good food. Yeah. So I totally, people are going to miss us this year, but that's beside the point for that reason. But anyway, so we're wrapping it up here. So where can people find you online? Where can they find your wines if they're in the States?
But in the States, we are with Alvin's Imports in Florida, so they can contact Alvin. Otherwise, they can always write to us an email. They can find, all the information with the email and the telephone number, even a WhatsApp message in our website that is vignapetrussa.com. And then we are in Instagram, we are in Facebook, always Vigna Petrussa. And so it's easy to find us. And then it's a female winery, so even if they tap Friuli, Vigna Petrussa, a female winery, they can find us.
Okay, great. And I want to thank you so much for giving me some time to talk to you. And I'm going to seek out the wines. And thank you so much.
No, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to introduce my winery and our amazing Schioppettino.
Yes, and thank you. And hopefully next time you're in like New York or something, I'll be at whatever the trade show is that you're at and we can meet in person.
Of course, of
Alrighty.
course.
Thank you so much and have a
Thank you
wonderful
very
week.
much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Ciao.